Earlier we saw that Socrates was charged with being a corrupter of the youth. And in the horse trainer analogy, he gets Meletus to change the charge from being a corrupter to being the sole corrupter, the only corrupter in Athens. Then, in the unintentional argument, what Socrates does is get Meletus to change the charge from Socrates as a corrupter to Socrates as an intentional corrupter. Now, the other main charge against Socrates is a corruption charge, but a religion corruption charge. So Meletus has accused Socrates of teaching the youth to not acknowledge the gods of Athens, but to accept new divinities. And so Socrates is going to modify the charge again, or rather get Meletus to modify it. And so he asks Meletus, is he, Socrates, teaching the youth to acknowledge some gods, so he believes in gods and is not an atheist, and hence they're not the gods the city recognizes? Or is Socrates an atheist and a teacher of atheism? And Meletus claims Socrates is an atheist, but is also accusing him of believing in these, new divinities. Now, what Socrates does is this. He claims that Meletus is engaged in a contradiction. And a contradiction in philosophy is a claim that is impossible to be true, and in virtue of its logical structure. It's not just that it's not true, it cannot possibly be true. Now, the opposite of this is what's called a tautology, which is a claim that is always true. It cannot be untrue. Now, in the case of Socrates' reply, it's kind of an indirect contradiction, because you can have claims that don't seem to be contradictions against each other, but they can have implications that are contradictory. So Socrates claims, by making this charge, that Socrates believes in new divinities and rejects the gods of Athens, but that Socrates is an atheist. He says this leads to a contradiction, which as contradictory as a claim that Socrates believes in and doesn't believe in gods. And that would be a classic contradiction, to say that Socrates believes in gods and Socrates does not believe in gods. And that would be logically impossible. So how does he show that the implication of Meletus's claims leads to a contradiction? Well, this is what he does. He, of course, as you would suspect, uses an analogy. So again, Meletus is accusing him of being an atheist, but also accusing him of believing in these divinities. And Socrates is going to try to show that this leads to a contradiction. So what's his analogy? Well, he actually presents several here. The first one is this. He contends that you can't believe in the existence of human things without believing that human beings exist. Which is true, because if you believe in things created by humans, that entails that you would believe that humans exist. Another analogy he uses is bringing up horses. A person cannot believe in horsemanship, the riding of horses, and then deny that there are horses. Similarly, you can't deny there are, say there's no flute players, but then say, of course, there is flute playing. And so those would be contradictions, because if you believe in the things humans create, you got to believe in humans. If you believe in horsemanship, you got to believe in horses. And if you believe in flute playing, you got to believe in flute players. Now, what about getting away from the analogy to what he's actually comparing it to? So Meletus has contended that Socrates believes in spiritual and divine agencies, but he doesn't believe in the gods. But Socrates says, if he believes in spiritual and divine agencies, he has to believe in spirits or demigods, because you can't believe in one without the other. So he pushes Meletus again, and Meletus says, kind of foolishly, that Socrates teaches and believes in divine beings. So from this, if Socrates believes in divine beings, he must believe in spirits or demigods, because demigods are either gods or the children of gods. So he is somewhat sarcastic to Meletus here. He calls it Meletus's facetious riddle, which I've horribly mispronounced. Facetious. Sorry, my talking is not working. So the riddle is this. The demigods or spirits are gods. But Meletus claims Socrates does not believe in gods. Meletus claims also that Socrates believes in the gods, if he believes the demigods. Why? Well, if the demigods are the son of gods, the children of gods, there must be gods. And he brings out another analogy here. Denying that there are gods, while accepting there are the children of the gods, would be analogous to affirming the existence of mules, while denying there are horses and donkeys. And of course, mules are the result of horses and donkeys. So he believes that Meletus has led to himself into a contradiction, and he takes this as refuting the charge. Now he also does what he did earlier, which was not just refuting Meletus's argument, but also attacking Meletus. And so Socrates, on the basis of the failure of this argument, he claims that Meletus made the charge against Socrates because he has no real basis for an accusation. Why? Well, Meletus cannot prove what Socrates regards as impossible. You can't prove that you can believe in divine and superhuman things and not believe in gods, demigods, and heroes. So Meletus's mistake here was to fall into Socrates' trap in a way by accusing Socrates of being an atheist, but also claim that Socrates believes in divine things. And Socrates seems to have effectively refuted Meletus. So that concludes looking at the religious charge against Socrates. And next, we'll take a look at death and the gadfly.